What's going on, guys? I'm on limited time today, but in this video I wanted to go over some charts. We're going to look at Bitcoin. We're going to look at a couple of the Bitcoin miners that are continuing to rip. So we're going to look over a couple of them. We're going to look over iren, Sphere 3D, BTBT, and CleanSpark. And Bitcoin first. We're continuing to follow this ascending channel. We might start finding resistance on it. I think there's a possibility we head down, retrace to our support line, come right down towards this 50 MA, somewhere around 66,000 before bouncing back up and potentially breaking out to new all-time highs. The market might have different plans and just continue pushing this up, but I would personally anticipate a little bit of a cool down, fill out this pattern, continue this trend. But perhaps we see what we saw recently. We get a little bit of a consolidation here, break out of the resistance and head to the mid 70s. Kind of like what we saw here. We saw a little bit of a consolidation right over the 50 MA before we launched up. Broke out of this, short-term resistance. So keep an eye on the 1 hour for this. I wouldn't mind some sideways action here, consolidation, before we go on to try to push this resistance. But yes, I do basically expect Bitcoin for now to continue following this pattern until it's broken, until it's invalidated. Even with this run we had, we're still nowhere near overbought on the RSI. Last time on the RSI, we saw a head and shoulders. We were getting pretty overbought on the daily. This time around, if we do try to test those all-time highs, I think we can see a substantial breakout. We do have room on the RSI to run before we become quite overbought. And I want to remind you guys, for Bitcoin, this is what I'm watching for. One indication of potentially topping out this cycle is the monthly. When you see an RSI over 90, every cycle we have seen an RSI get over 90 on the monthly. This cycle so far we got to like the mid 70s. And keep in mind, back in the 2016 halving cycle, we did see that. We saw the RSI get to a 70, 79 or so. Got a little dip. This candle here brought that RSI down, caused a little pullback. However, the market bought it back up and we went on to have a huge rally. If you would have got out right here on that overbought RSI thinking, okay, the RSI is overbought, now's the time to sell, well, you would have missed out on that whole run all the way to the overbought RSI in the 90s. So that is one indication I'm watching for. This cycle, when I see a monthly RSI over 90, I would expect we're very close to the top at that point. We are nowhere near there yet. Now I want to look over CleanSpark. We have been ripping here. We broke out of this descending resistance. You see a clear reaction from the market. We are now holding over the 50 MA. And CleanSpark seems to be finding resistance at that psychological 20. What I'm watching for on CleanSpark is a break over 21. Last time we broke 21, we did see a run to 25. And the RSI is at a similar spot where we saw that run. I wouldn't be surprised to see these miners retrace a little bit, test support levels, test 50 MAs, so on and so forth. I would say we have some room to run still on the monthly. One thing I'm watching is this trend line. I want to see us break this trend line. We have found it as resistance before breaking out. So keep an eye on this trend line. Maybe the market doesn't pay attention to it, but it's something to watch for. We might see a reaction on a break over the trend line. And I want to show you guys the Heikin-Ashi candles. The 4 hour says we're still in a green uptrend. The 1 hour says we're still in a green uptrend. Same with the daily. Getting a green candle on the weekly again. And we are continuing our monthly uptrend on the Heikin-Ashis. According to Heikin-Ashi, the trend is still up. One thing you can do when miners like CleanSpark start running like this, when you think they're starting to potentially top out on their run, when you're thinking they're starting to become a little overbought, one thing you can do is sell covered calls at a higher strike. You could wait for another really good green up day just to put the odds more in your favor, but I do think now would be a decent time to do some $25 calls, covered calls that is, and you collect that premium either way regardless of it hits or not. That is a strategy I'll be utilizing while these miners run up, while these miners get to overbought. Now I want to move on to Sphere 3D. One thing we're finding is resistance on the 200 MA. It does look like we came down, bounced off the 50 MA as support. Now we're stuck in that limbo zone. It's a matter of breaking over that 200 MA. What I'm also watching for is the 50 to cross the 200. We did recently see a death cross back in April. So Sphere 3D does still have some work to do. I would like to see that 50 get over the 200 MA. But so far so good. It does look like we're starting a new uptrend. We're breaking out of our downtrend here. Keep an eye on this ascending support. Follow this line. I do think a successful break over the 200 MA, a successful break over 150, that will cause a reaction for Sphere 3D. So keep an eye on Sphere 3D if we do break that level. But for now, things are still looking rough. We're facing a declining 50 and 200 MA. The 50 MA is under the 200. Sphere 3D does have some work ahead of it if we want to get a more bullish chart. This could be the beginning of the uptrend though. This could be the beginning of where things become bullish. I also got to talk about Iris Energy. iren, it is absolutely running. They did announce dilution in their earnings. Their earnings came out really good. They saw a profitable quarter. And they do expect a profitable quarter upcoming. Not many miners expect that. They also expect growth in revenue. This is post-halving. This is post-rewards being cut, and they're still expecting a growth in revenue. That's fantastic. So the market's very happy with forward guidance. The market is happy with the earnings. The market seems to not care about the dilution. it sees the bigger picture. And in reality, the dilution further concretes iren's success. Now, we did get a nice breakout of this descending resistance. We saw a reaction from the market. We also got a breakout of this ascending channel, and we got a reaction from the market on that as well. I would be cautious with iren here. It is becoming overbought on the daily. It is getting towards overbought on the weekly. We might have a little more room to run there, but I would anticipate a little bit of a retracement, a little bit of a cool down before we continue pushing, before we continue breaking these recent lower highs that we have to break out of still before we see new 52-week highs. But yeah, I'd be cautious after a pump like this. You know, one good strategy could be selling covered calls here. Typically, when you get nothing but green, you are going to retrace. We haven't really established any levels. We've just been running. There's not really any cool down. So I would anticipate a little bit of a retracement, perhaps a pull down to the low 7s to test this previous resistance as support. I could definitely see that playing out, a test of the low 7s. If we fail the low 7s, you know, next would probably be a test of the 650 area, this previous resistance, previous lower high. But yeah, if you're looking to get in iren here, I would personally wait. I would be patient. Otherwise, if you see it as a long-term successful company, you could always DCA. But yeah, guys, I mean, that's why you buy during the pullback. That's why you buy when everything's fearful. That's when you buy while the market is trying to price in the rewards being cut. What's happening now that we got past the halving, now that the market has digested the fact that these miners are taking half as much rewards? The market's forward looking. We already got through that negative catalyst. Now the market is looking to the future. What's in the future? Bitcoin's price rise. What's in the future? Consistent profitability from these miners. That's my expectation. These miners have no reason not to continue running. Chart wise, we might see some pullbacks. Chart wise, we of course might cool down. But over the rest of 2024 into 2025, I see no reason for these miners to not go to much higher prices. And finally, I want to go over BTBT. This has been ripping lately as well. We broke out of our descending resistance here, our descending wedge channel thing. We did see a false breakout, a retest of the 50 MA, a retest of this ascending support, this ascending channel. We did test that ascending support, and we got a nice breakout, nice reaction on the breakout. And we are now holding that 200 MA. We're finding resistance here on this ascending channel. I wouldn't be surprised to see us come and retest the 200 MA, potentially come down all the way down to the low 2s and test the 50 MA. One thing you'll see is the 50 is under the 200. We do have some work ahead of us here, just like with Sphere 3D. We want to see this 50 break over the 200 MA. But yeah, a lot of these smaller market cap miners, they did see a death cross when the market was pricing in rewards being cut. So some still do have quite a hurdle ahead of them to get back to a bullish chart, to get that 50 over the 200, to get that golden cross. But this is the beginning of that. This is the beginning of seeing a more bullish chart. You can either wait for confirmation of that bullish chart, or you can speculate that this is the beginning here. Now, are these miners still a buy if you're looking at the peak of the cycle? I do think so, but time is becoming limited. The higher these go, the higher the risk becomes. The higher these go, the less the reward becomes. But I do think there's still gains to be had here. Like I said in a previous video, these are the final innings to be a buyer. If you're looking at it with baseball terms, we're like in the 8th, 9th inning. Soon, I do believe the play will be selling, likely in late 2024, beginning of 2025. I'll hold my Bitcoin forever, but yes, I am playing these Bitcoin miners based on the cycle. I am playing a lot of these altcoins based on the cycle. And I am anticipating an upcoming crypto winter sometime in 2025. With all this institutional adoption, does that change the 4-year cycle? Maybe. But my money is still on the 4-year cycle. I do think we're still going to see these big bull runs around the halving, and I do still think we're going to see some major retracements in the middle years in between the halving. But what say you guys? Are the bear markets done for good? Are we only going to go up from here with this institutional adoption? Is Bitcoin going to stabilize as an asset and not see these dramatic 50, 60, 70% drops anymore? And let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and what miners are you still picking up? What miners do you still see good value in? Or are you done at this point? Are you waiting for the next pullback and otherwise just letting the miners ride into the sunset? Thanks as always for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.